Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. So we just have a polite request. So we'd love to give you leverage to at least share with us which feature you'd love more information on. Please feel free to share that on our chat session, and then we'll be happy to address them. In the meantime, I think we can probably give it up to 5 minutes just to allow other participants to join, and then we can start our session at 3:05. Thank you. So feel free to share on the chats, even on the Q&A section, which feature you'd love more or detailed explanation on. Okay, so I think it's safe for us to begin the webinar. I'll start by thanking everyone for joining. So we haven't received feedback on the specific features you'd love comprehensive breakdown. So I think we'll cover all the features. So once again, thank you. And so we'll begin with what is FarmCloud. So FarmCloud is a software platform that we use to record all your daily farm activities, from land preparation, from fertilizer application, from seed propagation, and also to you handling your post harvest. So, just to start us off, we'll start with the farm asset section, and the farm asset section is basically the initial part where we feed the system information. So we'll start by farm elements, and under farm elements, we indicate the specific structure that we have in the farm. So is it a greenhouse? Is it a screen house, a shade net, or an open field? Depending on the case, you will just follow the procedure. So, excuse me, so if it's a block, you'll tap on add a block, give it a name. We can give it block banana. Block size, you can have it as 1 acre. Date added was today. So once you've added that specific block, the next step is going to include the specific crop that you're growing in that block. So you'll tap on the block name, tap on a plant, select a plant. So we have two sections. Either if you're doing the normal planting or you're doing um, seed propagation. So if you're doing the normal planting, you just select plant, proceed, add the specific plant variety. But if you're doing propagation, you tap on seedling and fill in the required information according to the seed batch. So in our case, we'll do the normal plant. So the specific plant is banana, the variety. Our planting date, we had started planting prior to us using FarmCloud. Quantity planted. So under quantity planted, either you can select the weight, if you planted in weight form, or if you planted in bags, depending on the case. So in kgs, we can have it as 20. Projected harvest, we can have it as that one, and then we add. So now the system is fully aware we have block banana and we're growing bananas inside that block. And if you have any questions, just feel free to post them on the chat, and then we'll be happy to address them. So moving forward to farm inventory. So farm inventory, we keep a record of the farm inputs. So from fertilizers, agrochemicals, and seedlings. So for fertilizer, you tap on add a fertilizer. So this is you're adding the specific inputs that you have in your farm. So fertilizer, you select the specific fertilizer that you have in your farm. The supplier, you select the specific supplier. So if you'd love to have if you have unique suppliers and you'd love the record to be in the system, so you'll just add it. Let me add my name for you to see. So it gives you the option to create. So you proceed to create. You'll be asked to save. Once you save, you'll find that now it is available. So we'll go with agri dealers. Quantity, we'll go with 100. Minimum quantity allowed is to gauge yourself so that when you're almost running out, the system is going to alert you for you to restock. And the alert is usually on this section. So agrochemicals is exactly the same thing we've done for fertilizers. So we'll follow the same step, just give it a name, the supplier, the quantity, and minimum quantity allowed. So moving forward to seedlings. So this is when you're doing seed propagation and you need to keep a track of the seedlings that you are propagating. So you give the seedling name, and in this case, the name is tied to the crop. The variety, the lot number could be BFA. Quantity, you can have it as 100 kgs. supplier, which is quite optional, but you can include it, date added, and then you add. So as simply as that. So I already have that in my farm. So on the farm inventory and farm elements, we're just feeding the system information of the structures we have, the inputs, etc. On dryers, allow me to skip this part. My colleague will come in and give a comprehensive breakdown, because dryers is when we finished harvesting and handling the post-harvest. So let's move to daily work reports. Now, this is where we have the daily activities that we do in the farm, from fertilizer application, scouting, irrigating. So starting with fertilizer, you tap on create a report. So remember, the element is the structure. So ours was block banana. You select the variety, the stage that you're in, the fertilizer name, the date of application, time of application, quantity applied. We can say we apply 10 kgs on drenching method. So first application, yes. And if you've noticed on fertilizer, you're able to add multiple reports. So if you want to do many reports at the same time, you can add several reports. So fertilizers and agrochemicals, exactly the same thing. So what we saw in fertilizers is exactly what we'll see in agrochemicals. So heading over to scouting. So what exactly were you able to see while at the farm? So select the farm element again, the structure, the variety, the stage. You can move the stage now at least to sprouting, date of sprouting, and give a brief description. So okay, and then another thing, you can attach an image just to show proof of what exactly is going on, and you can add any notes that may be applicable. So heading over to manual irrigation, just basically what was the amount of water that you had irrigated for. So we will follow the same procedure of selecting the element, the stage, irrigation date, time applied, duration will go with 100 minutes, quantity will go with 100 liters of water, method used, we use drip irrigation. Any notes that may be applicable, you can add it. And then under pre-harvest, so pre-harvest is more of, just as the name pre, just to counter check, is everything okay before you can consider yourself ready for harvesting. And for this one, you're given a checklist for you to confirm or deny, if according to the situation at your farm. So you'll follow the same procedure again. The block, the variety that's being grown there. So at this stage you've progressed, you can move over to fruiting, and then you mark, you take this checklist. Now depending on the reality at your farm, and then you add. Okay. So before we go to harvest, we have other reports. So other report is to accommodate anything that's not highlighted here. So if you're plowing, if you're weeding, if you're doing tray sterilization, this is the section to do so. So you tap on create a report. So the only difference with the other reports is that this one you'll have to give your report. I mean, so you just write the specific report if it's soil testing, and then you proceed with all the other steps that we've done before. Now, going back to harvest. So harvest, we're at the end of our season and we're reaping what we've sown. So select the block, the variety, the date, time, quantities, either if you harvested in kgs, metric tons, if you harvested in bags. We've listed a variety of unit of measurements for you to select from. So under harvest, you have three options: high quality harvest, low quality harvest, and harvest loss. So if you don't have these two, like if no harvest was of low quality or you did not experience any loss of harvest, you can just skip this part and fill in this section only and have it as we harvested a total of, yeah, and then we save. Another thing to note also, under the harvest report, you're able to add as multiple reports as possible. Yeah. And then we have drying, which is we're going to cover this later. And then on the daily work reports, we have the traceability report. So the traceability report is for you if your buyers need compliance of what you did. If you're an exporter, and this is required, it is required for you to provide proof of what you did. We provide a traceability report, and you're able to share with your buyers. So if they want to know if you did organic farming, you can share the fertilizers and agrochemical reports, save, generate it, and it's going to be downloaded to your device. So the next thing we're going to cover is the weather and satellite feature. So under weather and satellite feature, first is to help you forecast the weather, and two, to monitor how healthy your crops are doing. So let's start. The first step on under weather and satellite is usually to plot your farm boundary. And something to note is that the weather and satellite feature is highly impactful on an open field setup compared to the greenhouse or indoor setup due to the limitation from the polythene paper. But if you have an open field setup, you tap on create a farm boundary. You search the location of your farm. You'll search the location of your farm. Once you've found your farm, you'll proceed with now drawing. And drawing is quite easy. So you'll tap on this sign, and then it is going to direct you on how you can draw. So once that's done, you'll give your boundary a name, and then you'll attach it to an open field. Yeah. So I'll just use an existing boundary that I have. Okay. So now under weather information, what you're able to get is the temperature information, that being maximum and minimum and precipitation level. Additionally, you get the total area covered by now the boundary you've plotted. So if your math is off, at least this can be used as a guide. And then we have current soil data, temperature at the top of the soil, temperature 10 centimeters deep, and the soil moisture. Another thing to focus on is now on the forecast. Now we get three types of forecast: hourly, daily, and historical weather forecast. For historical, you can backtrack up to 1 year. So the farthest you can see is a time like this in 2025. And then you have daily forecast. So for daily forecast, you can see up to 5 days ahead. So the farthest you can see is 3rd June. And then you have hourly forecast where you're going to see the hourly updates of the weather. And then we have satellite data. So under satellite data, it is used to monitor how healthy your crops are doing with the help of indices. And we have a variety of indices listed here. In as much as it can be a lot of information to take in as once, we have descriptions and also a simpler way for you to get the readings. But just to break it down for you, we have um, we have we have indices that are focused on the greenness and healthiness of the crops, and we have indices that focus on the moisture content of the soil and the crop. So for the greenness and healthiness of the crop, we have NDVI, EVI, EVI2, and NRI. And for the ones that I've mentioned, the higher the value, the indication of a healthier crop, the lower the value, the indication of a stressed crop. And then we have EVI1, and sorry, we have DSWI and NDWI. So these two are focused on the moisture content. So for DSWI is drought severity index. So it assesses the drought condition of an area. So for DSWI, if the higher the value, it's an indication that the place could be drought stricken, or it's a bare land, or there is no moisture at all. And then NDWI, normalized water index, measures the water content in the soil. Okay, my apologies for that. So under NDWI, the higher the value, the indication of that there is sufficient water in the soil and in the crop. Lower values indicate that either it's bare land or there is no sufficient water in the soil. And another thing, if you want this information, you can also export it and get the, if you want to dive deep into the data. So I think the next part is going to be Farm Shield. So Farm Shield, I'll just briefly walk you through because it's only applicable if you have the device itself. So Farm Shield is our smart device, which is used to automate irrigation. Other than automating irrigation, it monitors environmental conditions like NPK, humidity, light intensity, um, temperature levels, yes. So if you have the device, you connect it to FarmCloud and then you're able to view the data on FarmCloud as well. So before we can get to cover the other sections, which is dryers and the accounting feature, maybe we can set some few minutes for any questions regarding the topics we've gone through and we'll be happy to address them. But if everyone is on board and there's no questions, just a thumbs up is going to be great, and then we can move to the next session. Okay, so if there are no questions, allow me please to welcome my colleague Sam, who's going to take us through the dryers and the accounting feature. In the meantime, if there's any questions, just feel free to you can type it in the chat box and then we'll address it there.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Samuel, and I'm co-host alongside Stacy. And let me welcome you again to our monthly webinar. And I'll be taking you through the dry section. Then we can move over to the accounting bits, and then we can finish off. So for dryer section, it is used to dry the goods that we have produced in the farm, or or maybe even if there are no goods that you have produced in the farm, you could be working for an enterprise or a group of farmers. So you can use Sinalpha's or salad dryer, where you integrate our salad dryer element for drying your products in your greenhouse, where you'll be able to lay your produce in the greenhouse beds. And now you can use the salad dryer element to track your crop journey until at the time you do the unload report. So to begin with, you have to create a dryer. Two ways you can do that. You can create a dryer manually by pressing the register dryer button where you have give it the name and the date the dryer was installed in your farm, the capacity that the dryer will be holding. The temperature unit is the unit of measurement you'll be using to measure your to measure throughout the drying session of this dryer. Then the moisture unit is the unit you use to measure moisture of your products for this entire process. Then as a description that identifies your dryer, then you can continue. One thing to note is if you create your dryer manually, you will not have a device, but you can be able to attach a device to it later once you do the procurement from Finefa. Then once you have your dryer, let me use this one as a device so you can see how everything works. Here we have our dryer detail page that shows more information about the dryer. Also, dryer we created it with a capacity of 16 square meter, and then the temperature unit, the moisture unit. Now here we have the crops and the batches, and this is our device information, the one that has been attached to our dryer. And once we have the dryer now, we can move on to record a crop, and then we dry that crop in form of batches. So a crop has batches. So now we can add a crop and show so that you can see how the crop information is displayed here when we are done. Okay, so we select a crop and then you select a variety for the crop, which identifier for that. So a batch is the small chunks of crop of the crop that should be drained. So let's say you have 1,000 kg, that is like 1 ton of your type of crop here. Let's say it is more realistic to have a ton to coffee. So let's say you have 1 ton of coffee, and now you want to dry that coffee in form of batches. You can say like 100 kg is the first batch, another 100 kg is the second batch. So you have a batch identifier where we use to identify a given segment of the coffee that you are drying. Then you go to the drying start date. You select it is today. Then you do the weight entry mode. So weight entry mode, when control, you enter the total weight as this. Then if it is false, you enter the number of bags and the weight per bag. So let's say you have 100 bags and the weight per bag is 50. So I'll have 5,000 kg, and then you have to select the unit of measurement and now the quality of the coffee. Then you add the crop. So we have that this plant already exists in the dryer. So you can, after you've added, if it doesn't exist in your dryer, you'll be able to see something like this. So you can see we have our batch information over here, the one that we have added, and now the crop information is visible from this batch, the crop in the batch. Now we can be able to read crop information where we have the drying period, all batches that we have, and then we have the quality reports, and that's how the quality report is, because we don't have yet recorded drying reports for our batch. Now, once we have our batch, we need to keep recording quality check reports for that batch. Quality check reports in the sense that if we add our crop today, our batch crop today, we need to come back later and check the progress of the drying. So we measure the temperature, and also our smart solar dryer will measure the humidity of the enclosed greenhouse, that is the dryer, and then you'll be able to measure the quality of the coffee and also the moisture of the product and the temperature of the product. So for one batch, we can select one batch here, and then we can record the quality check report and also our batch and load report, so you can see how they look like. For quality check report, we have this button. Now it is a two-step function, so we have to select first the quality check report or the batch and load report. So we have quality check report, click continue, and then we do select the date, we did the line, the quality check, and then the temperature. So this temperature is temperature of the product, the coffee itself, not the atmosphere. So we can say it's 30, 30, 30 degrees. The degrees part will be out of field since we selected our unit of measurement at the time we were creating the dryer. And then the humidity, we can say the humidity is 20. And then we have notes. So for notes, you can say fast quality check. Okay, with that. And then if we add an attachment like an image of the crop for that in a moment that we were recording this report, we can attach it over here, and then you continue. Now this is a summary of everything that you filled in, and then you can send the report. Now after you created that report, you'll be able to see that the report information is over here, and you can be able to edit the report or you can delete the report. Now for an unload report, we do the same process, whereby if now we have already recorded a quality check report, and we see that the reading tree said 20% of the moisture is ideal for batch. Now we can come over here and select a batch and load report, so that we can record that we have unloaded that batch. So we have the date, then the quantity total, let's say 4,000. Then the quality, choose the dry quality. Then the moisture content is 20. Then we can say um, batch that. Then you can continue. Okay. Now here we have a summary of the information. Then we save the report. Okay. Now give me a minute. So let's do it again. Then you come to you select the node report. You save, select the date. The weight is 1,000 kg. Drawing quality very good. Moisture is 20. and then you say like that. Now once you're done here, you will be able to save this report. Then continue. Uh, you can see the harvest information and everything. And then now once you've been able to do that, you'll be able to save the report. Once you do all that, save the report to appear over here. And uh, if there are more unloads that you wish to unload for that batch, you will be able to create those unload reports until all the batches and the entire crop has finished the drying process itself. Moving on, we have the device information. Give me a minute. Okay. So for the device information, we have view more buttons. But first, the device itself. Uh, Here we have the last link, which is the last day it sent data, and then the name of the device and the date it was sent to the farm. Now we have the sensor readings for ambient temperature and relative humidity, and the last updated data is this. So here we have a graph of temperature and humidity. You can see for May 22nd, the temperature was 24 and humidity was 49. Now, the since May 22nd, it hasn't sent any data, so that's why it's at 0. Since May 22nd, so you can see 24 hours. So we see last 24 hours, it hasn't sent any data. Now let's go back to view more readings. When you view more readings, let me switch to night mode. When you view more readings, you have this dryer information. You've already seen this. We have device information and the device health. And then we also have the humidity, the historical readings, the temperature readings for historical, the light intensity and its historical readings. And then the device information, we have the hub and the fan activity. So for let's start with the overview information. So humidity is the atmosphere of the enclosed surface, and we can see that our device has sensor hubs which are used to send data, and then we have historical readings which we can be able to select the day we want. Let's say any day like Monday, and we can apply, and now you can be able to see the historical reading for the humidity. Moving on to the temperature is the same thing. Light intensity, the same thing as we've done with historical data. And now we can be able to customize which graph we want to see over here. If we want sensor 1, sensor 2, sensor 3, sensor 4, we can be able to select one. Now you'll be able to see that we don't even have one because this one, sensor 2, hasn't sent any data. Now let's move on to device information. Device information, we have hub battery level and fan activity. We have hub 2, hub 1, and hub 3 and hub 4. And then you can see that the fan status is off. So if we go to, let's say, the last time it sent data was 22nd. If you go to 22nd, you can see that the fan activity there wasn't fan activity because the fan was turned off. So the same way we can be able to view the historical readings for the fan as we did for the previous temperature and humidity. And we can now rename our dryer. That is, like, if we under certified the name of our solar dryer, and then now we can go back to our dryer and mark the end of our presentation for the dryer part. If you have any question, kindly let me know so that I can answer them before we move on to the accounting bit. If everything is okay, you can give me a thumbs up and then we can proceed. Okay. Oh, there's a question. Um, can FarmCloud be translated in other languages, and which one? And can the recording and slides be shared? Uh, Currently, FarmCloud is only available in English, but we haven't done the translation into other languages. And Stacy will answer about the recording and the slides. Stacy.
Okay. So regarding the recording, we always share recording ideally before the 15th or the 10th of each month. You can either find it on YouTube, and you can also access the recording through our newsletter. We'll post it there. So yes, you are going to get the recording. You can visit our YouTube channel or keep an eye on our newsletter.
Any more questions? If there are no questions, kindly let me know. Give me a thumbs up so we can proceed. All right, right. So then, proceed to now accounting, then you can finish it. So for accounting, we have product and services, we have income, and we have expenses. For products and services, these are products that we have in our farm, and once our product has reached, our plant has reached harvesting stage, it is automatically brought into product and services by the system. For income, this is where we record our invoices and accept payment for products. Then expenses is where we record our expenses which are incurred sorry, um, in the farm, be it general or element specific. So let me take you first through products and services. For products and services, as you can see, we have our products over here. If you do not wish to if the products and services which you have in your farm are not yet harvested, you can be able to add your product over here manually. So we have the product name, product type, unit of measurement, and the description. And now you'll be able to see it over here. Like we have farm assets, farm asset we select over here. And then if it is a crop harvest, you'll be able to see it over here. Now let's go to our income. So for income, as I have shared, it is used to record uh, payment received and create invoices for buyers. So here we should through adding invoice first, and then we go to receiving payment. So for our invoice, we have invoice number, which is automatically generated once we leave it as blank. Then date issued is the date you created this invoice for a given buyer. So we can say the date is today, 29, and then the due date is when you expect the buyer to give you to settle the funds for the product that you sold them. Then you select the due date, let's say it's first, and then you have first is to see. Then you have the buyer. So for buyers, you record the buyers manually in your farm, the ones you want to do transaction with. But if the buyer you want is not listed here, you can search the name. Let me say we search an existent name, and then you see that we didn't find the name. Then we can create the buyer. So we create our buyer with the buyer currency, the buyer first name, the buyer last name, the company name of the buyer, then the email address, the phone number, and we have optional fields for website and fax. And then we have billing address. Billing address we have billing address and shipping address. So for billing address we have street address 1, address 2, country and city. And then we have the postal code where we'll be billing to. And then we have the shipping address as same as billing. So this checkbox reads that if this billing address is the same as the shipping address, then we check the box that if the shipping address, let's say the buyer wants their goods to be shipped to their location, but the location they want is different from the one we have here in the billing address, we uncheck the box and then we can be able to enter the shipping address. Then we have notes and attachments where we record the notes for our buyer, and then we have attachments that we can also for our buyer with. And now we have invoice period days. Invoice period days is how long this buyer can stay with an invoice. And then we have payment method, how we wish the buyer will settle the payment for the invoice. So we have M-Pesa, cash or bank transfer. And then we can now create our buyer. So once you create our buyer, you'll be able to see them in the buyer page, which is here. So this is the buyer page. And now let's go back to the income and to receive to create the invoice. And select the dates. Then select this down. So if we have custom billing and shipping, we can check the box, but if not, we leave it as this. Then select the products, let's say poultry, 450%. Then we have unit prices 450. And then we have quantities 10. And if now our product is subject to tax, we can add tax. We have two tax, we have VAT, let's say VAT. And then now we have the total amount. Payment method, let's say mobile money. And then we select this number to make method. So for payment details, we can, if we want to have more options, you add a payment method which you can choose as cash or uh, mobile money, bank transfer, and check. So whichever payment method is the preferred between you and the buyer. Then once you add your payment method, you will be able to see it over here. So it's selected mobile money and selected it here. Then we have our discount. If we choose to give this person a discount, then if we're shipping the product to the farmers, to the buyer's location, we can include a shipping fee if we have it. And then tax breakdown, we have VAT only. And then note that we can say okay, products and tax. Now we save our invoice. Now after we receive the invoice, you can see that we have the invoice is due in this number of days for. And then all amount. This is the buyer currency. This one. Now we have the paid amount is not paid, and the remaining is all the invoice amount. You can be able to view the invoice. Then we should click the invoice number. Now for the invoice number, you can see that we have the me as the FarmCloud owner of my farm, and then the invoice number here, the date it was issued, the due date, and who the invoice is billed to. Now we have the products that we have invoiced the buyer, and we have the payment details. We also have our cost breakdown as total paid, amount due, and the rest. And now we can now go back to our invoices page so that we can see how to receive payments. But before we do that, on the left side, you see we have payments. So payments is all payments that have gone in to this invoice. So if we record a payment that we've received for this invoice, it will be automatically recorded over here. So let's go back and then we can create payment. So we receive payment over here. Then select the buyer, payment method, mobile one. The receipt is today. So total amount received is 5,000. And now the invoice is due date is 3. We have that. Then amount to allocate is the amount that you want to allocate to this invoice. So maybe you can have multiple invoices for this buyer, but you have received 4,000. So you can say you want to allocate 2,000 to this invoice, and then another invoice here you can say two more thousand. That's why it is written as amount to allocate. So you can say the entire amount 5,000. Then we have the reference number is optional, so you can leave it blank, it can be generated, and you can write partial pay. Then you can say the conversion rate. Since we are dealing with cash, now the buyer currencies are the same. We can record our conversion rate. So you have to be very careful here with the conversion rate, because if you record a wrong conversion rate, uh, you will either gain more money or lose more money, which is not the intended purpose. So you'll have to liaise with your buyer. So you can say 1.5, meaning that one buyer's currency is 1.5 more than our currency. Then if we have any attachment that we can use to certify that we received the payment, we record it over here, and then we save and close. Now you can see our invoice has been partially paid. and we can either delete the invoice or the invoice if we do not want to do any more about the invoice. Then now we can do the invoice. Let's go to the invoice. You can see that now the total paid is 5,000 and the total amount is 5,200. Now the amount due is this. If you go back to the left side, you'll be able to see that this is the reference that we recorded our payment with. Now amount paid is here, so it has been automatically created once we record the invoice. So if we proceed down to receive the pending amount, which is 220, the same process applies. Alright. So now let's move to expenses and then we can finish off. So for expenses, as I had said, these are the expenses that you have been incurred in your farm, which is the total general expenses or farm element expenses. So total expenses is general and farm element combined. And then general are the ones you incurred across the entire usability period of planting, and also the farm element expenses, the ones that you've incurred for given specific element. So let me show you how to create a farm element expense. Then we can proceed to general expense. So for to begin with, you add the expense, say general and element specifics, and have a small description over here. Again, you can select this one. Then next category is element 10, then variety, supplier, the date incurred, the cost, and also payment method. And then we can add a supporting document. We can have supporting document right now. Then we add a description for say farm, agrochemicals for greenhouse, development agrochemicals. Then we can now once you've added, you can choose to approve the expense or reject the expense. So the reason for this is if it was your farm worker who created this expense, you as a farm owner, you'll come to the expenses section, and now you'll be able to see that there is an expense that was created. So you'll be able to either approve the expense or reject the expense. So once you approve it, you can see that the expense has been applied over here for farm element expense. And now let's proceed to general expense, which is more the same. So let's go back to general expense. So for general, you have category, supplier, then the rating card. The process is still the same as for element specific expense. Now the total expense is the summation of this and this, and you can be able to see your expenses, all your expense that you've created over here, which you can be able to edit or delete the expense. So once you delete an expense, it is deleted from the expense listing and also from here. So if you have any question, kindly don't hesitate to ask so that I can respond and we can proceed to the next part.
Oh, okay, so there's actually a question. Someone is asking for irrigated crop, is there schedule system? Oh, okay. So we do have a system. It's a device actually. It's called Function, and its function is that it automates irrigation. So it can be on schedule basis or automatic due to the sensors. It has sensors. So yeah, if you want a scheduled system, we have the function light, which can be programmed to irrigate your crops on a scheduled basis. And then now we have the automatic one. Now for the automatic one, it has soil moisture sensor. So the sensors are able to tell when soil moisture levels have dropped, it will trigger the water valve and start irrigating. When they are optimal, it stops and the process continues. So I hope that answers your question. If there's anyone else who has a question, please feel free to ask. Okay. If there are none, please just feel free to throw a thumbs up, at least just to know that everyone is okay. Okay. Since there are no further questions, we'll come to an end of our webinar. So thank you so much for your attendance and your participation. It is much appreciated, and we hope to see you in the next session. So thank you so much, and I wish everyone an amazing weekend.
Welcome and thank you for your appreciation. Thank you and goodbye.